At Razorfish, we do think that it's important to have both a short-term, long-term strategy, but you need to definitely balance the way that you're experimenting with your data integrity. And really kind of the way that we do that is every experiment that we do has to be intentional. Every experiment that we do has to roll up into a larger strategic learning agenda that is aligned to both our short-term and long-term strategy. That means that every experiment we run has a specific business objective, has a series of learning questions, things like, are we reaching the right consumer audiences? Is our message personalized enough based off of what we know about someone? So these learning questions then help us create hypotheses, which ultimately are the foundation for our tests. So that's the first thing as it regards to experimentation. Now, in regards to data integrity, it's really important that you make sure that you have a good foundation of data for every single experiment that you have. You want to make sure at the end of the experiment, the results are quality results that you can share within the organization. So in order to do that, some of the things that we do at Razorfish is, one, we make sure that we have every experiment is tagged thoroughly, so we make sure that we know exactly what's happening when someone's engaging with that experiment. We also want to make sure that there's the proper QA along with it. Then we also want to just kind of make sure that we're taking a look at everything that's happening both within the company. So for example, any new campaign launches that are happening, any new features that are launching, right? Because we know that that could potentially skew the results of the test, right? So we do want to make sure that we look at everything in regards to data integrity.
What are some common mistakes advertisers make when designing or interpreting A/B tests, and how best can they avoid them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of mistakes from anything from not waiting long enough for statistical significance, trying to test too many variables at one time. I think when we think about the biggest challenges or biggest mistakes that they have, they sit at the both sides of how many times or how much you're testing. On one side, we see clients that are afraid of testing. Sometimes they're afraid of failure, right? So they're not going out, they're not testing new things because they don't want to show their boss that ultimately a test didn't drive an ROI. On the other side of things, we see that there are some clients that are testing too much. They're testing every little thing and it's almost overkill. And our recommendation in both cases is you need to be out there, you need to be testing, but back to the point of it needs to be intentional. You need to make sure that everything you're testing is focused on driving impact, and you're doing it at the lowest effort possible so that you can get things into market quick.
With predictive consumer insights becoming much more accessible, how do you see them reshaping personalization and targeting strategies over the next year?
Yeah, I mean, predictive insights are going to open up larger opportunities for us to be able to personalize at scale. I mean, right now, I think we're at a stage where a lot of advertisers are still doing reactive personalization. Somebody comes to the site, they show interest in a pair of sneakers, we use that action, and now we follow them all over the internet with those same pairs of sneakers, right? With predictive insights, the idea is we get a fuller picture of that consumer, right? So we get an understanding of not just that they just took that action, but potentially we can identify that they're a runner, that they live in Massachusetts. It's November, winter's coming around, and instead of just talking to them about those shoes that they looked at, understand the context in which they're engaging with those shoes, right? And provide recommendations that are actually helpful. So maybe it is those pairs of shoes, maybe it's some other ones that are similar, maybe it's some new jogging gear that they could use because it's gonna get cold out, right? So we do think that it's gonna open up a lot more opportunities to start creating more one-to-one personalization with consumers.
Thinking of personalization, the flip side of that is the constant privacy concerns. So what innovations are you seeing in privacy-first performance marketing?
Yeah, I think when it comes to privacy, I think there's a lot of innovations. Interesting enough, we at Razorfish did a study about a year and a half ago now, but still very relevant. It was called the data privacy paradox. And the focus of it was to understand if there is a paradox in regards to how consumers are expressing how they feel about privacy compared to the actions that they're taking. So people said, okay, yeah, we're super focused on making sure that our data is private, but at the same time, they were always willing to give their data away for 25% off discount, right? So when we think about those things, we live in a situation where advertisers have to be very conscious of it, because one of the things that we learned as part of that study as well is that it takes about a month, years to build trust with a consumer, but that trust can be lost in an instant, right? So you need to make sure that you're keeping data private. Now, two different things that we are doing on our side to kind of overcome data privacy. The first thing is we know that third-party cookies are going away, third-party data is going away. As a result of that, more and more advertisers are shifting towards first-party data, and we're bringing strategies beyond that, which is really starting to focus on zero-party data. So data that you could collect directly or intentionally from a consumer through a survey, through a preference page. So for example, let's say that someone's coming into a hotel's brand's website, right? And they're trying to book a hotel. Well, there's a lot of different reasons why you would want to book a hotel, right? It could be leisure, it could be a family vacation, it could be a business trip. So we want to start being able to understand that context, and we do that with zero-party data, and that allows us to start better targeting and personalizing experiences. The other thing that we're also seeing is becoming a larger trend, and we're investing significantly in, is really on the privacy around reporting and analysis, and specifically around data clean rooms. So systems where advertisers can bring in their data in a privacy compliant way, no PII, right, and be able to connect that with other partners to be able to start stitching that customer journey together and help us understand attribution, and things like that. And ultimately, I think it's kind of the future of where we're going as we start thinking about reporting analysis in the future.
Speaking of the future, looking ahead, which emerging tools or platforms are you most excited about for unlocking new performance opportunities?
Yeah, there's a lot out there. There's a big focus, obviously, on AI. I think that there's two areas that we are investing heavily in. When you think about the end-to-end content supply chain, there's a lot of different stages within that supply chain. There's everything from upfront insights to briefing creative, to the creative concept team, the production, distribution, and ultimately the reporting analysis. Two interesting places where we're dabbling in is one in the insights portion of that process. So we've been using a lot of synthetic research as a way not to replace primary research, it's still very much important, but to help us to get to insights faster. So at Razorfish, we have a tool that we call Seed, which is basically a synthetic research tool. It almost serves as like a virtual focus group where we can train the tool on our clients' segments and then come in and ask a question. So for example, what are the features that you're looking for when you're buying an SUV? And actually we get responses from these synthetic personas in regards to what are the things they're interested in. We actually did some comparison between the synthetic responses and actually some of the responses from real humans, and we were actually 80 to 85% accurate. So definitely something that we're looking to continue to scale and bring more insights to our clients. The second the second part of the innovation that I'm interested in is really on the content production side of the house. We work with a lot of the big platform partners, so the Salesforces, the Adobes of the world. A lot of them are investing in capabilities to help us really create content at scale. So starting off with a template and being able to switch out content really quickly. And when we look at all the social platforms out there, the Metas of the world, right? They want a lot of content because they want their algorithms to be consistently optimizing that content, right? So now we're getting AI to help us create that content at scale in a way that's more efficient than it's ever been before.